Today is, what's today? January 25th. 10 days past my due date. And I think it's happening now. I had contractions all night long. I didn't time them because I was just trying to sleep through it and had to get up a lot. But then I finally got up at like 7 or 8. And now I've been timing them. Right now it's like 11 or something. So I have contractions like every 6 minutes right now. And they're lasting about 1 minute long. Now I'm just kind of waiting for them to get a little closer together. And then we're gonna probably head to the hospital. I'm so relieved that this is finally happening because this has been a long, slow, and painful process. I have been having prodromal labor. If you don't know what that is, it's like false labor. So there's been multiple days, especially in the middle of the night, where I'll start having contractions for like an hour or two, like consistent. But they're kind of like weird time, like 6 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever. And then they stop. So it's been really exhausting physically and also emotionally because I didn't really expect my labor to go like this. But if we're in the home stretch now, then I don't even care. I'm just ready to meet this man. I'm so excited. I think one's coming on right now. Pretty painful. It's like, it started out the last couple days as like period cramps, but now it's like, it takes over my whole body. So I'm trying to like stay really relaxed, but when the pain peaks, I kind of find myself clenching up. So really trying to just relax, breathe through it. So yeah, hopefully we can go to the hospital soon and things will just keep progressing. So I'll keep you updated. All right, we are headed to the hospital.
Yeah, buddy.
It doesn't even feel real right now.
It's overdue.
It is overdue. 10 days. But I feel like it's gonna feel real once I'm in the trenches. Right now I'm like,
Getting gassed.
yeah, right now, like, it only hurts during a contraction and then it's like normal-ish. Here we go, here we go.
Like all the family's gone.
Oh, nice hat, nice hat. Dad life. Yeah, all of Mickey's parents leave tomorrow morning, but I guess they're coming back in 2 weeks, so. But yeah, both Mickey's sisters came to town. And then they both had to leave. I feel so bad. So, oh yes, and Kyle. So, yeah. We'll see what happens. Keep you updated. We just got to the hospital, but we're in the parking garage. Got a sandwich because it's 1:30 and we haven't really ate today. Gotta fuel up. Yeah. And then we're gonna go in and see what's up. A funny story, getting sent home.
False alarm.
It's not a false alarm at all. I'm still in labor. I'm just only 1 centimeter still. But 2 days ago I was 1 centimeter and 20% of face. I'm 90% face. So the contractions are doing something. You have to be 100% of face and 10 centimeters to give labor. So things are happening. But she was like, yeah, you did everything right. They say when they're 5 minutes apart to come in, and that's what's happening. She's like, but you just gotta keep waiting until it gets even stronger. So they give us the option to wait there an hour and see if there was like any change or to go home. So I'm just gonna go home. It's 3:10 right now. But when we got there, we were supposed to go to the emergency room. We couldn't find the emergency room, so we just went in the front entrance.
Somehow we snuck up to the 6th level.
We went to the OB.
Like, who are you guys?
Yeah, how'd you get up here? Who are you? So we looked like silly gooses. Yeah. But yeah, I'm still having a lot of contractions. They're pretty painful. So the fact that I gotta wait for them to get even more painful. Yeah, I'm like, so when do I come back? If this is like when you're supposed to come in. It's like if your water breaks or when things just get really, really intense. I was like, oh, wonderful. So we're headed home. Labor at home. All right, we're home. This is the last day with the bump. He's quite large, if you ask me. My stomach is rock solid.
Rock hard abs.
Rock hard abs. Hurting. I'm hurting good. I'm currently going for a walk. Just trying to get things moving. To be honest, I feel the best standing up. When I lay down, it hurts more. I don't know if it's just because I'm more relaxed, so I'm focusing more on the pain, but like I'm having contractions while I'm walking, but it kind of almost like eases them. I don't really know how to explain that, but the sun is out today. It's feeling good. I'm gonna try to rest after this because it's probably gonna be a long night. But yeah, I'm feeling really grateful that something's happening because it's been days of pain and waiting, and I'm ready to get this show on the road. Jeez. Look who it is.
It's me.
One handsome little cutie boy. Two of them, actually. So, little Dean is 1 week old. You're 1 week old. First week is going pretty good. We've really just been in the bed, hanging out at home, which I think that's what you should be doing. I feel like I've lost my pregnancy glow. Breaking out a little bit. But I'm healing up really good. It's actually quite amazing how fast your body can just kind of shrink down and you're pretty mobile. So I kind of wanted to go through the little story of how this guy came into the world, because it was quite the whirlwind. I had to learn a lot about patience and trusting in my body. So it all started, I would say, Friday night. So he was born on Sunday, January 26th. So on Friday night, Mickey and I went out to dinner with his parents, and I was definitely having some contractions here or there, like a little bit during dinner, nothing crazy. I wasn't thinking too much of it because I was having what's called prodromal labor, which I do not wish on anyone. Basically, it's where you're having like contractions that seem very real. They're really close together, lasting for a while. In my case, sometimes it would be like an hour or two, and then they just come to a halt. And it's the most frustrating thing of my life because it was just really playing with my head, and also, you know, it's not very comfortable, so it kept kind of waking me up. I would say this was going on for like a week. It kept waking me up in the night, and so then I would kind of think like, okay, is tonight gonna be the night? And then I would like fall back asleep after a bit, trying to just get my rest. Also, he snores. But I would be trying to just get some rest, and then I would wake up in the morning and the contractions had stopped. And it was so frustrating. I had probably 2 breakdowns during that time, just wondering if my body was failing me, if it was ever gonna happen. I kept thinking, like, I'm never gonna be in labor. Like, this baby is never gonna come out, which is crazy. That's not true, but it's really hard to convince yourself of that during that time. So anyways, back to Friday night. We went out to dinner, and then we just went home afterwards, and probably around like 9 p.m., like the contractions were going and they were staying pretty consistent. And so I really knew I needed to rest, tried to sleep through the night as best I could. And then when I woke up, it was probably like around 8 in the morning. My contractions were like 6-7 minutes apart. I started timing them, and they were lasting about a minute long each contraction. So typically the doctor tells you there's a 5-1-1 rule. When your contractions are 5 minutes apart, lasting a minute long for an hour's duration, then it's kind of time to head to the hospital. So I knew I wanted to labor at home as long as possible, just because, 1, you're the most comfortable at home, but 2, I was really not wanting any intervention, so I didn't want anyone to try to push me along. I had already been dealing with a lot of pressure of getting induced, so I just wanted to be at home. Eventually, we did decide to go to the hospital just because I was kind of unsure what to do. And looking back on it, I think it was definitely too early, just because I was in pain, but not like, now that I know what it's like, it could have been in a lot more pain. But the hospital is 20 minutes away, so I really was like, I don't want to be in excruciating pain in the car because it's really tough. So we decided to go to the hospital, and then they put you in triage, which is basically like checking to make sure you're in labor before you actually get into a room. And they checked me, and I was only 1 centimeter dilated. I had stayed at 1 centimeter for pretty much a week. I had gotten checked 2 days before I had this going on, because I had like my last appointment, and I was 1 centimeter dilated and only 20% effaced. So you have to be 100% effaced, which basically just means the thinning of your cervix, and you have to be 10 centimeters dilated, so the opening of your cervix, in order to give birth. So when I got to the hospital, I was 1 centimeter, but they told me I was like 80% effaced. So all of those contractions that were going on were essentially just my cervix getting thinner and thinner, which is just so mind-blowing to me, because it basically took like an entire week of contractions just to thin out. And some women, they can walk around for like days being like 3 or 4 centimeters. So I was just so frustrated. So since I was only 1 centimeter, they sent us home. So we went home, and they pretty much told me, like, you want to keep this thing going, stay on your feet, try to move around, blah, 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 which I was like in pain. And so for some reason, my contractions were extremely uncomfortable laying down. Like, the moment I lay down, they were way more intense, and I just think there was, like, so much added pressure. So I was planning on staying up anyways. I went on a little walk outside. I was doing a lot of hip stretches and all kinds of things, just trying to get things going. So we labored at home all day. We went back to the hospital. When we got to the hospital, it was it 10 p.m.? Yeah, when we went back. Pretty sure it was 10 p.m. So we went back, it was 10 p.m. I was like, oh my gosh, we better get admitted, because that car ride to the hospital was excruciatingly worse because I was in like way more pain. So we get to the hospital, they check me, and they said I was at like a 3 to a 4. So then they're still kind of like, so you're trying to do this natural, you might get sent home depending on if you progress or not. And I'm like, you're joking me. They're like, we don't count it as active labor until you're at least 6 centimeters, which to me is bonkers. So they were like, you can decide to stay, hope you progress, or you can just go home now. And I was like, I'm staying. So they took me into a room, got me settled, laboring basically all night. So they're checking me every 2 hours to see where I'm at, because I have to be progressing. And luckily I was. So I was progressing at about a centimeter an hour, which is pretty typical, they said. And then whenever I got to 6 centimeters, my water broke, and I was so happy it broke on its own. But then things got real. For some reason, whenever your water breaks, your contractions hurt extremely more. I mean, I was also like way more dilated, and they say like 7 to 10 centimeters is what's called your transition phase, and it's typically the most painful phase. So there's also that, but holy cow, your water just kind of gives this little cushion between him and your body. And so whenever that broke, it was terrible. A couple drops came out, and then I was like, Mickey, I think my water broke. And then he was like cleaning that up, and then all of a sudden the whole thing broke. It almost went all over him. It was crazy. So then after that, I am literally fighting for my life. Like, I pretty much, it's not pretty much, I stood on my feet and labored, and then sat on the ball and labored the entire time. I could not get in the bed, but they had to have me be in the bed when they would check me, and it was literally the most pain I've ever experienced in my life. And they would be like, I'm so sorry, we're doing this quick. The thing that sucked though is one of the nurses was a little bit newer to labor and delivery, and so every time she would check me, she was kind of wrong. So she checks me, and this is like a while after my water breaks, and she's like, oh my gosh, I think you're at a 10. Like, we can start doing practice pushes. And I'm like, praise the Lord, I'm almost done. So then she's like, okay, I have to have somebody come in and check behind me. So then I'm waiting in the bed, just in so much pain. Another girl checks me, which getting checked whenever you're not very dilated is pretty uncomfortable, but the further in you are, it's not terrible, I guess, but still uncomfortable. And so then someone checks after her, and they're like, no girl, you're only at a 7. So I go from thinking I'm literally about to push to you're only at a 7. So yeah, I continue laboring. I got stuck at a 7 for 4 hours, which they said is pretty normal around that time period. At a 7 can kind of stall out a little bit. So I'm just going through the most pain I've ever been through in my life, and I'm like looking at the time, and it's like 3, 4 in the morning. I don't even know, so late or early, whatever. And at this point, I had like been awake for so long. I'm so exhausted. I've just like expended so much energy going through all these contractions. And I'm thinking in my mind, oh my gosh, I still have to push, which is gonna take a lot of energy. And so I really felt defeated. And after 4 hours of out of 7, they checked me. They're like, you're at an 8. And I just started crying. And I just sat there for a minute. And I really wanted to do this all naturally. But at that moment, I surrendered, man. I was like, I don't think I can continue to do this if we're progressing at a centimeter an hour and I'm only at an 8. I still have 2 more hours of this excruciating pain, and then I have to push. So I was like, Mickey, I need your help. I need your encouragement. I don't know what to do. And he was just supporting whatever I wanted. And I was like to the nurse, I'm like, get the epidural, man. And they're like, okay, no problem. This guy comes in within not even 10 minutes, puts it in my back, and boom, within like 7 minutes, I'm in no more pain. It was so crazy. And honestly, with how the rest of my story goes, I'm so grateful I made that decision, because it could have ended really bad. So once I get the epidural, I was able to take a little bit of a nap. I probably napped for like, I don't know, maybe not even a full hour. And I was able to get a little bit of energy and like just kind of relax a bit. I had like the most ideal epidural. I still had complete filling of both of my legs. And I could move them on my own. So it just like took the pain away, but I was able to still, like, I could have literally stood up on my own 2 feet, which they don't really let you do that, you know. But so now I'm in the bed the whole time because you're like a fall risk, which was good though, because I needed to conserve my energy. So time is going on. A couple hours later, I don't even know, I was so delusional. And then they check me and I'm at a 10. Someone comes behind her, checks me. They're like, yes, you are at a 10. I'm like, oh, this is so wonderful. So they're like, okay, well, we can start doing some practice pushes. So I'm pushing for a bit, and then the doctor comes in. So I this whole time was seeing a midwife, but I guess they were only there Monday through Fridays on call. So since he was born on a Sunday, just got a doctor who I've never met before, but to be honest, she was amazing. She was so peaceful and calm, and it was just good. So anyways, the doctor comes in and she is like watching me push a little, and then she's like, I think that he is still too high up in the pelvis. Like, I was at 10 centimeters, but so there's like, I can put a diagram up. There's like different positions that the baby's in, and if he's too high up, there's really no reason to push, because like he still has to come down a little bit. So she's like, girl, stop pushing, let your body do the work. We're gonna let some contractions just kind of push him down, and you need to rest. So then she's like, do you mind if we give you some Pitocin because your contractions are starting to not be very consistent? Like, they're coming like every, I don't know how long in between, but they weren't like right back to back anymore. And in the beginning, I was against Pitocin, which is what they use to induce you, just because if you're unmedicated, no epidural, then these contractions are like insanely more painful, and I wasn't trying to go through that. They have like a little monitor on the screen, and my contractions with like no Pitocin just on their own. So there's like a scale from 0 to 100. Mine were hitting at like 60 to 70, and it was excruciating. Once they put the Pitocin in, they were going to 100. Luckily, I couldn't feel the intensity of that, but I could still feel the contractions happening. Like I could feel my body and my back and my pelvis like tensing up, but it didn't hurt. A little bit, I guess later on it was kind of actually uncomfortable, but it wasn't like unbearable. But I didn't want them to like turn up the epidural or anything because I really liked that I still had filling. So anyways, she gives me the Pitocin to help move him down into my pelvis a little bit, and then she put me in some different maneuvers with like the peanut ball to help encourage him moving down. So finally he's at the point where he's like engaged into my pelvis. Probably took like an hour or something. And then she's like, okay, you can start pushing again. So I'm pushing on my back, I'm pushing on my side, I'm pushing on my other side, I'm pushing on all fours. Since I could feel my legs, they let me move around. I'm doing the most, and he is not coming out. And she's like, I can see his hair. For so long, she could see his hair, but he was literally stuck behind my pubic bone. And so they're like maneuvering my legs to have my knees together to try to open my hips up and stuff. I'm pushing with all my might. Everyone's like, not yelling at me, but like, give me more, give me more. And I'm like, I don't have any more to give. At this point, besides like the little hour nap I got, I had been awake for over 24 hours laboring. I had no energy. And while you're in labor at the hospital, they don't let you eat or drink anything. You give ice chips and a popsicle. That's it. So they don't even let you drink water, which I'm like, what? So everyone's encouraging me, like, come on, come on. And I am like getting more and more frustrated as time goes on because I'm over here like, I feel like I'm about to blow a blood vessel out of my face. I'm pushing so hard. And she's like, keeps telling me like, he's right there. And I'm like, is he right there? Because this is crazy. But he was stuck, and that was what the issue was. And so basically we're now on hour 4 of pushing, and the doctor looks at me and she's like, okay. She's very calm the entire time. She was so calm, which I greatly appreciated. Or she was like, okay, we can go get the vacuum, which is like this suction thing that goes on his head to like help get him out. She's like, we can go get the vacuum, and that's basically the last thing we can do. And if he doesn't come out, you're gonna have to get a C-section, or we keep pushing like this and it doesn't work and you're gonna have to get a C-section. Like, the option is yours. And I just laid there and I'm like profusely sweaty, Mickey comes to my side. Him and I are honestly terrified. I was so mad that it was about to end in a C-section, and I just really felt so defeated, and it was a pretty emotional moment for both of us, and Mickey was just encouraging me. He's like, it's gonna be okay. Everything's gonna be fine. He's safe. It's all gonna be okay. And I looked at the doctor and I was like, please go get the vacuum, please. So she gets the vacuum. They get it in there quick. All of a sudden, there's like a bunch of nurses in there too. And I'm pushing, and then she's like, oh my gosh, like, pretty much his hair was out, but he wasn't like crowning yet. And she's like, you can do this, you can do this. And so she like puts the vacuum thing on, and a contraction comes. I'm pushing with all my might. He doesn't come out. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then the second contraction comes. She puts the thing on. His whole head just pops out. And I could feel everything. I was like, oh my gosh, no way. And then she's like, all right, one more push and his shoulders will be out. So then I push again. Boom. His whole body comes out. It was so cool. So then they, put him on my chest. It's so awesome. And then Mickey cuts the umbilical cord. They weigh him, and he weighed 7 pounds and 1 ounce. I went 11 days over my due date, and this guy weighed 7 pounds and 1 ounce. We all thought he was going to be like 8 pounds, so he just needed that extra time to cook. And yeah, it was the most terrifying but greatest experience of my life. I pretty much labored for like 40 hours if you count Friday night. Even though it wasn't super consistent, I'm counting it, man. I was in pain. So next time, I really hope I have a shorter labor. But overall, I'm very grateful for how it turned out. And now we've just been snuggling away. And he's so precious. He's just the sweetest little thing. He sleeps really good. We've figured out feeding pretty good. He latches great. We're just a little bit sleepy, but that's pretty normal. So yeah, that's kind of my birth story. And I don't think I missed any details. So what's your overall take, Mickey?
The neighbor just said both her kids had jaundice, so.
Oh yeah, that's another thing. We thought we would leave after 24 hours, but he tested positive for something called Coombs. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, COOMBS.
Coombs, which I guess is kind of rare, but basically I'm O positive and he is A positive, and while he was inside of me, our blood mixed, and so he got a bunch of extra antibodies that doesn't work well with him, and they were eating his red blood cells quickly. So that mixed with a lot of newborns get jaundice, look it up, and it's so like the Coombs made him basically more risky with his jaundice, kind of made his levels a little higher than they liked. So he had to do blue light therapy for like 2 days. It was kind of sad because we didn't get a hold of him. He had to stay under the light unless he was eating or needed a diaper change. And they had to poke his little heels so many times. It was sad. So we had to stay in the hospital for 3 days. It sucked. But we're happy to be home and happy that he is healthy. He went to the pediatrician 2 times already, and they think he looks great. So, super grateful for that. But yeah, what do you think overall, Mickey, and your experience of the hospital? And
My experience of the hospital, always ask questions. A lot of people don't know the full story, like the nurses. They kind of are just on a shift, so going through the motions. So yeah, we had a lot of questions that some people didn't even know the answer. They're like, well, let me get back to you on that. As well as, like, did you talk about how we had to feed him formula?
no.
They, like, gave us formula, like, we were originally gonna breastfeed, and then
They gave us formula because to help jaundice, he needed to have a lot of poos. So your milk doesn't fully come in for a couple days. So we had to supplement with some formula for the first couple of days to just help him.
yeah, so since we had planned on breastfeeding, we didn't really look into formula, and they didn't really tell us, like, what to do. So I guess you're not supposed to use the same formula bottle once, because
Yeah, he barely ate any of it, so we used it for 2 feedings. That was a no-no.
yeah,
One of the nurses shamed us hard.
She came in after we used it first. She's like, "Did you use the same bottle?
You can't do that.
You can't do that."
And then she made us, we were like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen? And she's like, he's gonna get sick. And we were freaking
Well,
out.
she didn't even know. I was like, "Why?" And she's like, "I don't know.
True.
You just can't do that."
And then she said,
Really?
I think sickness or something. And like, basically like food poisoning.
Yeah, so I looked it up, and basically the baby, its mouth can get bacteria in the bottle, and then if it sits, that bacteria can multiply, and it basically be like food poisoning.
Yeah, we were freaking out, but it didn't even faze him. But we learned, and we're like, so nobody was gonna tell us this.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that's true. It's kind of frustrating. And on your first night sleeping in the hospital, they're coming in your room like every hour. So you're really not getting much rest. And we had such a long experience already. So that was tough. We kept saying, like, we are living in another reality right now. Like, we were so delusional.
And at the end of the day, you're probably never going to see those nurses again. So if you slightly annoy them with your questions...
Well, it's like they shouldn't be annoyed with you having questions.
It's also their job to provide that info.
But what would you say your experience with labor, like cutting the umbilical cord and...
Yeah, so labor... I mean, she probably already explained it. Took a long time. Yeah, I think that's probably partly because of his position as well as...
Oh, yeah, I didn't say that. Mickey said whenever he came out, so he was face up, which is already not an ideal position. The best is for him to be head down, like when he's coming out. But he had his head kind of cocked to the side, right?
Yeah, it would be like 2 o'clock.
So I think that's why it took so long.
Yeah, he like locked eyes with me when he popped up.
That's actually cool. I think that's why it took so long and why it was so excruciating when I would like lay down, because he was kind of in a wonky position, and that's probably also why he was stuck on my pubic bone. Mickey's dad said when they're face up, they have to like maneuver their head.
Do the limbo. Yeah,
like underneath the bone and around it, so it can be a lot more difficult. So that's kind of why that happened, which there's not much you can control there. I did a lot of different positions and stretches and everything that everyone suggests, and it still happened. So that's just a realistic thing that can occur.
Yeah, but overall, I mean, the nurses for labor were pretty good, I thought.
Yeah, we had a great team. I mean, I told them how that one nurse was newer, so...
Oh, yeah, that sucked.
That did
was
suck.
Just, like, after all the false alarms.
But she was so kind.
She was nice, so I was like, okay, but it's a mental battle.
And she was... They were all so encouraging and really kind. Like, I actually really appreciated the nurses. Shout out to you if you're a nurse in any way. Like,
Yeah.
even afterwards, they were just helping you so much. And, like, I wasn't really mobile for like a day because you just gave birth, and they just seriously, anything you need, they're there for you. So that's just super helpful.
Definitely do a lot. And there was like a nursing student that was kind of deciding on whether to be ER or
Yeah, that was cool.
the birthing. I think we probably convinced her.
Well, she was saying she loved it, and then the whole time we're just chatting once I got the epidural, and I was a lot calmer.
Yeah.
We're chatting with them and laughing. A girl looked like a girl I knew in high school.
Yeah.
So it was just cool. And, hopefully I feel like you'll remember that. How many births she'll be a part of as a student, I don't know.
I think we made an impact. It was from the dad side of things, you just gotta listen to your wife, and kind of really be her advocate too.
Yeah. Go over your birthing plan beforehand.
Know what she wants.
Because, like, when you're in a lot of pain, you're so out of it. They're asking you so many questions, and I can't even think straight, so...
I had to take over because she was going through contractions, and, like, the original nurse was like, well, we have to get these answered, so, Dad, how about you come over here and we'll go through it.
And then he also had to fill out all this paperwork and sign stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you think I'm in the state of mind to sign anything right now? Like, there's no way. So, super, super grateful to have Mickey on my team.
But definitely, know what shots and what you want beforehand, because in the moment...
They're not explaining anything.
And there's not really going to be time for it either.
Yeah, and we did all that research beforehand, which was good. Yeah. But if you're new and you don't know what's going on, that could be a scary moment, just signing things and basically giving people permission to do things to your baby. You're like...
Yeah, and there's definitely two... sides. There's a stigma of like, oh, the hospital is there to help you, or the hospital is there to like make money. So we kind of could see both, honestly.
Yeah.
But I mean, overall,
just advocate for yourself, and whatever you believe in, stand up for it. And like, they legally can't do things without your permission. So
and like, a lot of times they'll have to take the baby away to the nursery, but you'll be able to watch it. I went for like basically everyone. A couple times I was asleep and didn't know.
Yeah, he would go stand outside and watch whatever they were doing.
Yeah,
which was only like if they had to take certain blood samples and.
But I mean, I think it also, I guess you could say, puts some pressure on the nurse or holds them more accountable, because we just saw a TikTok the other day of like baby's first birth or bath, and then they like squirted the baby in the eye. So it's almost like you want to know what's happening.
Yeah, so you're monitoring them.
Might as well take that 15 minutes to go walk with them and watch them at the nursery to just make sure your baby's
and the hospital food's disgusting.
Yeah, thankfully we were at the hospital right next to the University of Tennessee, so I was getting my steps in, walking to get like some Raising Cane's, Chipotle.
Yeah, if you were there for 24 hours, then you could avoid it. But 3 days, we were like...
Yeah, I think it was like 4 or 5 days.
We went home on the 4th day. Yeah. Anyways, overall... super positive.
We got him. He's alive.
There's a lot of horror stories out there, so even though it wasn't my ideal, what I dreamt of, it went fantastic, and we are so blessed and so grateful, and we thank God every day for this little guy. Look at him.
Yeah, it's really, I don't think there's probably a perfect pregnancy, perfect birth.
Yeah.
So, just gotta be blessed with what you get.
Yep. And that's our little recall. Little baby Dean is 1 week old. I can't even believe it's already been a week.
Yeah. pretty wild. And honestly, I think it, from the dad's perspective, if you have low expectations or high expectations for the effort you're gonna have to put in, it's not bad so far. Like, you feed him, she feeds him, change the diaper. The biggest thing is just like having to wake up, consecutively, basically.
Yeah, he pretty much wakes up and wants to eat every 3 hours, so. And sometimes he's sleeping and you have to wake him up.
And unless you're using formula, like, the dad can only really help with the changing diapers part.
We're doing great. We're killing it.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's our update. And I'm sure there will be a lot more of this little sweetheart.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. We're thinking of going for our first little walk.
It is really sunny out.
The dogs might hear, so we have to talk quiet. But, yeah, we've been cooped up in the house for a week, so it'd be kind of nice to get some sun. Take it easy, of course.
Some grass.
Alrighty, thanks for listening to our birth story. We're parents.
I know.
I'm a mother.
It's so wild.
We're just responsible for this guy for the rest of his life.
Feels like we just started doing taxes.
Oh, speaking of which, we need to do our taxes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll catch you guys later.
He's out.
Hayes out.
I don't know. I didn't think this through.
Love it. Toodaloo.